So this year, for the online class, I've decided that I'm going to cover Chapter 8. In previous years, I haven't covered this chapter, and it's called Cutting Costs, Not Corners. And it also ties into a do-it-yourself type of wind turbine that you could build. And I thought I would add it to the class this year because I think there's some value to it. So I'm looking on page 163 of the Wind Power book by Mr. Geip, and it's got a... What's interesting about this is I think some of this material in this chapter might be a bit dated. And the reason I say that is Paul wrote this book. It was published in 2004, which means much of the research was done in the couple years previous to that. And so some of the things that he talks about in this chapter about hunting down wind turbines that are in the Great Plains in Montana and on farms and abandoned in the middle of nowhere, or turbines that come from a California wind farm. Many of these machines are no longer available. And so because of that, again, I think some of this information might be a bit dated. As we see some of the photos that are shown here on the next page, it shows Paul here atop of a machine that he found in the middle of nowhere in July of 1977. Not likely that you're going to find something like this anymore. So I think rather than go through all the examples that are shown here in the book, I think I'm going to spend a bit more time on discussing some of the machines that you could find still and what they might cost, and then we'll actually use the internet and see if we can find a couple examples of those. So the first thing that he covers is to build a turbine yourself. Why would you want to do it yourself? Well, because you can. It's really interesting. And we've got one right here on page 165. And this is one of the plans that are shown here come from Hugh Pigott. And Hugh Pigott is a Scottish man that lives on the Scorag Peninsula in northern Scotland. It's about as far north in Scotland as you can get. Paul lives off grid up there, and this is his only source of electricity. I'm going to go to his website here momentarily, right? So right here, and this is the website, scoragwind.co.uk. And you can see here, maybe not so well on this video, but you can see here the URL is here. You could look this up yourself. This is a wonderful photograph of this is literally where Hugh lives. And so how does he generate his own electricity? Through these 1, 2, 3, 4 wind turbines, and he also has solar on the roof of this house. Now this is northern Scotland. There are no roads to get to his house. You either take an off-road vehicle or a boat to get to his house. Yeah, there's land that goes to it, but there are no roads. So if there's no roads, we know there's no electricity. So for Hugh, it made sense to build his own turbine. And as we look at his website, he shows some of his students building the sites. And yes, they're carving those blades by hand with draw knives and spoke shaves. And you can see that he's got a class starting in April, and it's 225 pounds in London, another one in Bristol. So you can see it's a very popular website that Hugh's got here, and I suggest that you go and look at his site because he explains quite a bit on how this would be built, and it's really an amazing design that he has. Notice on this page he has a recipe book. And if you click on the recipe book, you can actually buy a copy of the book so you could build one yourself. Now, Scotland, metric, not inches, okay? Lots of millimeters, centimeters, and so forth, okay? So phrasing will be different. He does offer an English version, loses a little bit in translation, but not too bad. I've actually got a copy of it. So that's one place that we can get a homebrew turbine. Another place we can get a homebrew turbine is from our friends out in Colorado. And if you go to the website otherpower.com, make your own electricity from scratch. These are Dan Fink and Dan Bartman, who are a couple of off-gridders from Colorado. And a lot of the history is listed right here. Dan and both of the Dans come to the Madison area every year. They come for the Energy Fair, and if you go to the Energy Fair, you'll get a chance to meet them and buy a copy of their book. Their book is based on their interpretation of Hughes' design, the one we looked at before. Some of you have seen the hand crank turbine that we have in school, and that is actually one of their turbines. Some of the images are lost here. Most of this was put up by Dan Bartman, with some wonderful ads here. So there's some history associated with it, and it's really an interesting it's a really interesting website. This is a copy of the book right here, and buy it from them. The college does have a homebrew turbine class that we have had on the books for a while. We haven't offered it in the current course number that it's in. If there's ever enough interest in it, we could run the class and build 2 or 3 turbines based on the size of the class. So if you guys are interested in running that class, we can do it, and you could walk out of here with a turbine of your own. To show you what that turbine looks like, I want to show you a YouTube website. Okay, click on this website. You can see the URL up here for it, youtube.com/watch?v equals and a whole bunch of letters and numbers. Okay, so that is the site for it. And this is a turbine that was built by the college. Principles of engineering students, probably, I don't know, 8 years ago? It's pretty old. Maybe not that long. I'm not sure. Okay, here it is uploaded. It was uploaded on May 11th, 2009. So 7 years ago. I was off a little bit. All right. So I'm going to get it started. It's only a 3-minute video, and hopefully it'll go back. All right. And there is some sound associated with it that I'm going to turn down. All right. And I will go to full screen. Hopefully it will continue to capture it. And sure enough, it is. So there was a student that actually, this was their part of the project, was to actually make the video. Right? So this is an example of the homebrew turbine, the one that I just showed you on the otherpower.com. This is an example of how you could build that turbine. And this very turbine, one of the ones that was built here is the one that we use as part of our hand crank turbine demonstration. So the class, you can see there's a lot of handwork involved. That's Ken Walls right there, who was one of the instructors. John Christian, a metals instructor, was one of the other instructors. So this is the small turbine that got put together, and it's a really nice video. There was welding involved. They wound their own windings. They cut all the metal. They carved all the blades. This particular one they sent off and had they had it painted. So these are all the parts that had to get put together, and this is exactly what you would have to do to build your own wind turbine. It's important that the windings get put in correctly, as you see in this spot here. There's some soldering involved, and that's the stator. After the stator was made, they had to make a mold so that the magnets could be put in place the exact right spot on the rotors. The rotors need a metal band to go around the outside of it to keep them from flying off. That's what you see happening here. And these are the rotors, and they put the plate on there, and those are the magnets getting put in. And then we have to put together these vinyl esters, which is a type of a plastic epoxy, if you will. And that was put in. This was a little extra stuff that didn't need to happen on the lathe, tightening everything down. This is the metal part. Need to make a tail so it will yaw correctly. They made a display tripod for it so it could be shown, which has since been lost. So, by the way, this whole thing starts as a trailer hub, and the trailer hub gets put together, and there it is, all being assembled. This machine we have on a tripod, not the same tripod, and it's available. We do actually need to replace the blades because they were broken. So we're going to cancel that And again, so that was back on the homebrew turbine. So that was an example of one of these turbines that was being put together. Back to Paul's book. So back to the book. So that's the homebrew turbine. This is a bigger one that got built. Home built, but well built. That's a big machine, 22 kilowatts, okay? So this is back in 2004, already 12 years ago, and so this was at the Folk Center for Renewable Energy. So it's been going there for 30-some years now. It might be interesting to find out if that is still in operation. Notice the rotor's 10 meters, which is 33 feet in diameter. Pretty darn big. Next page, they show a guy who went around and he was reclaiming machines from other locations, and a lot of money got put in them. Okay, and notice he said he's got in here it talks about in the spring of 1995 he bought a used Nord-Tank 65 kilowatt machine from Palm Springs. Well, if you look through Paul's book, there's lots of shots of a whole bunch of wind turbines all in the mountain areas. That's the Palm Springs, Palm Desert area. And so there's still a lot of those machines that are in place there. I was recently in California and I saw them myself, and still lots and lots of machines that are flying in the Palm Springs and Palm Desert area. And a lot of those machines are just sitting there. They're not being used, which means maybe they're not functioning and they're not worth repairing. So maybe that's the kind of a turbine that you could go and buy. Well, is that something you really want? Is it going to function for you? You just don't know. Okay, so you need to be careful on that. And that's what this chapter is about. How much money do you want to spend for something like this? There's an example of a used wind charger. Okay, they were really handy to have. Look when they were built, the 1930s, right? So this is 80 years old. You know, pretty darned old. Maybe that's not something that you want, but maybe it is. Maybe you just want to tinker. Another wind charger. This was from the 50s. Remember, you used to be able to buy these things right from Sears and Roebuck's. So a lot of history in this book. He gets and talks about machines from the 70s, right? In the 70s, when our first power crunch took off, then we were looking for options, and one of the things that they did is they would buy some of the machines that came out of California. Well, we learned about a company named Berge Wind Power. Berge has been around since then, and they have got a wonderful turbine. We've talked quite a bit about it. There's a couple examples of machines just like this here in southern Wisconsin. There's actually two of them flying up in Custer, Wisconsin at the Renewable Energy Fair. I've been involved in installing and repairing a couple of those. I can tell you a bit about them. I know there's a couple more in that area, and there's one actually over near Helenville and Sullivan. So I want to show you a couple others here on the next page, 173, because I did a search on the internet and I found a machine that looks really similar to this. Maybe not the machine, but the tower looks the same, and it's for sale and it's on eBay, right? So this is one of the places where we might look to see where we could find a machine. So I'm going to go back to the internet. This time I'm going to go to eBay. Now, when you first do a search on eBay, right, I typed in used wind turbine, and you're going to get all sorts of these goofy little things, right? Well, do they make energy? Yes. Do they run by the wind? Yes. Are they worth buying? Maybe not, right? These are for people who aren't serious about it. They think they're going to buy a machine like this and it's going to take them off grid. Well, we know that size means everything, and being able to put it up in the wind means everything. So the first thing you might want to do when you're doing a search like this is go up to the best match. And this time, let's look at the highest priced ones, okay? Because that's going to get us away from these toys, right? It's going to get us away from these toys, and we're going to see, aha, here is a 180 kilowatt machine. That is a big machine. That's almost twice as big as the one in Fort Atkinson that we're going to see on our field trip after the break, right? $100,000. Well, what do we know about it? So let's click on it. Well, we know that it's in Minnesota. It looks like it's been in operation for a number of years. What does it tell us about it? It says that the guy has one. They were built from 93 to 94. It's a 23-meter rotor, and the gearboxes have been rebuilt. We can see, what do we know about this? They make 400 volts and they run at 50 hertz. Okay, you can get the inverter for another 20 grand. That's what's going to make it 60 hertz and with no modifications. So this is a pretty big machine. And look, we've got some photos of it, right? So this is one of the ways where we could, are we going to cut costs or corners? So there's the electronics behind it. Gamesa is a big time name. They're still available. They're still making turbines today. So support would be available. All right, we can see that, ooh, look at all those parts. There's a gearbox. There's the generator. There's the yaw motor. There's a hydraulic pump, right? So when we look at all these things, right, so we can see there's the gearbox right there, right? There's the motor, the generator. Come over here. That's the yaw. This is a hydraulic pump, right? So this is going to make the hydraulics that's used to do the work. I don't know if it has variable pitch. I don't know very much about this machine. This blue motor that we're looking at right here, that's the yaw motor. That's what keeps it turning into the wind. So this is really a nice place for us to do some learning about this. What else do we have down here? This looks like, what do we have? Okay, so here's the electronics behind it, right? There's the electronics. What could possibly go wrong there? And finally, now we can see what the blades are like. So we can see how the blades bolt on. What do you think? Does it look like we have variable pitch on this thing? I'm guessing no. However, if we look at those bolt holes, we can see that they're sort of ovaled, right? So there is an adjustable pitch, but it's a one-time adjustment. Okay, and so this is a Gamesa, and it says MADE. It's a AE23. So that could start you on some research, right? That could start you on some research. Local pickup, $100,000. He's got 6 available. All right, so that's one. I'm going to go back. What else do we have? Here we've got a 40 kilowatt machine. Okay, 40 kilowatt machine, Aeroman. Where could we learn about Aeroman? If we look back in Paul's book, we're going to see, what do we have here? Let's go back to Paul's book, right? This is on page 173, right? What are we going to find on 174? There's a California, look at that. There's an Aeroman right there. So there's an Aeroman 2-bladed turbine. Look, it's got this tail rotor here. Holy smokes. So this has a tail rotor. It looks to me like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. But let's keep looking down. Aeroman. Right? There's the Aeroman, country of origin, Denmark or Deutschland. I think that's Deutschland. D, the orientation, upwind. Let's see, UAM. What's he telling us about that? So if we look here at the bottom, U is upwind, A is active, and M is mechanical. Okay, so that's the type of yawing it has. Okay, number of blades. It's a 2-bladed machine. It's got a 41-foot diameter, or 12.5 meters, and it makes 40 kilowatts. Well, what does Paul say about this? It says, I don't see where it tells us to stay away from these, right? First generation turbines installed in California suitably for research. Okay. So these are the ones that are preferable. So that is a preferable machine. So again, if I go back to eBay, what does eBay tell me? eBay tells me that it's $25,000 or best offer. It's located out in Bakersfield, California, just like we thought. And again, it's got that tail rotor thing there. I don't know what that is. Interesting. What do we know about it? It says fully functioning for a limited time, 25K each, utility scale wind park being sold. The site's been upgraded for larger machines. They will load it onto your trucks. Okay, you'll get everything above the foundation. That means you get the tower. You get everything. It's a 40 kilowatt machine. That is pretty darn big. What do we know about it? We know it's a galvanized tower. We know it's got the nacelle, the blades, the controller. What don't we know? What don't we know? How many volts is it? How many hertz is it? Has it been rebuilt? So there's a lot we don't know here. And then you got to go out to California and get it. How tall of a tower is that? Can we see how tall the tower is? Did it say? These are some of the questions that we would want to find out. We will provide the original drawings for the foundation, your engineer, blah, blah, blah. Again, as is, where is, you got to go get them. They'll take them down. So they're still in the air. Okay? We don't know how many are available. Nice. Can't see how tall those are. Well, how long did it say the blades were? 40-foot blades, right? 40-foot diameter, which means this is a 20-foot blade. So if that's 20 feet, from here to here is 20, 40. That looks like a 60-foot tower. 60-foot tower. What's that going to do for me in southern Wisconsin? Maybe not enough. Not unless I'm in the middle of nowhere and there's no trees around. All right, so you get what I'm getting at here. So there's an Arrowman. What else do we have? Here's a Berge 10K, right? Here's a 10K Berge. Where's this guy located? 15 grand. That's actually a pretty good price. And it's located in upstate New York, and it's on a guide tower. 118-foot guide tower installed and commissioned in 2009. Oh, my goodness. Wow. It's a pretty good price for a Berge 10K. All right. So that's a pretty good price. That's a good machine. If you would like to see what one of these looks like, you can go to Highway 151 near Highway V near Columbus, Wisconsin, and you will see a Berge XL almost exactly like this, owned by a guy that works at the school. All right. What is it? Got interior electronics. 240 volts out. Let's see who installed it. It's the power sync inverter. Anti-climb. And it's a guide tower. Right? It's not a tilt-up tower. You see it, notice here it's only guide in 3 directions. Right? It's only guide in 3 directions. You can actually build this thing without a crane. You would use what's known as a gin pole. Okay? And that gin pole you would raise up each section as you went, and there's your 10K turbine. No bids. That's not a bad price. You could install it yourself. Pretty good stuff. 118-foot tower, good sized tower. All right, all right, I'm not going to look at all of these. There's bunches more here. Okay, there's bunches more. Oh, look at this. We have a VOT. We have a VOT, and 27 people are watching it. Look at that. 27 people watching that one. Huh. Okay, and we start getting into weird stuff too. Okay, look at this one mounted on the roof. So this is the kind of stuff that you're going to be looking at. Now, this isn't the only place you can find used machines, right? But it's just an easy place to look. Okay. So, what I like here about Paul's book is that he gives us an idea on what's a good idea, whether you want to buy something or not. Things to stay away from, salvageable, things that you don't want to mess around with. All right, the Carter 25 kilowatt machine is one of the ones that he says is salvageable. You kind of want to stay away from them, so he says. All right, so I would like you to read the rest of the chapter, and I would like you to do a little research on your own. This is an example. I think, again, these are some of the, yeah, this is the Bakersfield area that I told you about, right? And so there's a lot of machines out there. Some of them are only scrappable, so you want to do your research before you go writing a check for $25,000. That was supposed to be funny. Probably don't want that one. Might be some scrap value there. Boy, that's going to be heavy though. Palm Springs. Again, Palm Springs. So, that sums it up. I'm going to stop this video now. I'm going to suggest that you finish reading this, and there will be an assignment that you go finish reading this, and I would like each of you to do a little bit of research on seeing about finding a used turbine, find out what you can about that turbine, and that could also mean, you know, investigating building one of your own. So your assignment will be to find a source for a used rebuildable or do-it-yourself machine, and to get me the specifications on it. What you expect it to provide as far as its output, what you expect it to cost, how large of a tower it would be put on, if it comes with a tower, or if you have to purchase one of your own. So those are some of the things that you would want to look at, and that's going to wrap us up for the end of week 8. There are 2 quizzes to take care of. There is listening to this video, and of course also doing the homework of researching your own turbine. Enjoy spring break. I'll be meeting you after the break. We'll be setting up the field trip where we go and look at some turbines.